I'll never forget, I guess it was ringside somewhere back in WWE. Maybe it was Canada or up in the Northeast, and you and Chris Benoit had a cage match, and I think you missed a moonsault off the top. Wasn't that
Yeah.
that match? And I was doing
Yeah, I had to
commentary.
have knee surgery.
Oh my God! I was watching that match because I was right there. Hang on, my wife is walking in. Let me get my wife in and continue the story. Anyway, there I was ringside. I mean, and y'all had an incredible match. Of course, you had great chemistry. The intensity of the match was off the charts. When I saw you miss that moonsault, I was like, "Holy smokes!" It was just unbelievable. So when you look back at your career, and that wasn't necessarily the most dangerous bump in the world, but I think you said it led to knee surgery. Looking
Yeah.
back, did you put yourself at high risk for a shorter career doing the physical style that you wrestled? And I wouldn't say that you took crazy or stupid bumps, but you had a very physical, intense style.
Yeah, I did, and looking back now, I do regret some of the bumps I took. I remember that match very well, and the one thing I remember when I watched it over again was the look on your face, and it was one of those feelings where I felt like, I don't think Austin wants to work with me. He thinks I'm too dangerous. When you're the guy, which you were at the time, Chris and I were vying for that spot to wrestle you. And, so we wanted to throw everything on the line in that match. And I think we went a little bit too far. Chris did the headbutt from the top of the cage, and
Yep.
and he had to have neck surgery. His arm was literally like getting smaller every single day. And then the worst bump was when I took a German from him from the top rope. That was way worse than the moonsault, and that probably had a lasting effect on the neck injuries that were going to come in the next couple of years.
Hey, how do you explain all the rash of cervical injuries? Basically, the C-section of the neck. I was fused up in 2000. That was just from a pile driver. It wasn't because I was taking crazy bumps. I also had spinal stenosis. But certainly there's been a rash of cervical operations. And I think it's just because the business has sped up. And this is going back even 15 years. Just guys trying to push the limits. The girls, too, trying to push the limits. What all did you have done to your neck?
Well, I did have a really bad span of bad luck from 2003 to 2006, where I broke my neck 4 separate times. I think the reason that is what you said. I was taking the wrong bumps, and I was rushing back to get back in the lineup as soon as I could, and I wasn't completely healed. When I went to TNA after 2006, I never had another neck injury. So it just went to show that I was doing way too much and not letting my body heal when I had the time off to do it. I was always thinking about, how do I get back? What's the quickest way I could get back? And I chose neck surgeries that were literally that only took me 1 day to heal up. Not that I was 100%, but the doctor literally said, "Listen, you're gonna have neck surgery today. Tomorrow you can go in the gym and start working out again." And it was like, okay, that's great. And he didn't give me any limitations. And before I knew it, within 5 weeks, I was back in the lineup, and I shouldn't have been. I literally got hit with a chair 2 months later over the head by Brock Lesnar, and I broke my neck again. And then it just continued. I'd say 6 months after that, I broke my neck again against Eddie Guerrero at WrestleMania. That was WrestleMania 20. And then about 10 months later, I broke my neck again. Just kept adding up. And our schedule back then, Steve, we were running hard. We were doing a lot of shows, probably close to 300 a year. My advice I give to people now, limit your bumps. And they say, well, is that the best advice you can give me? Because I thought maybe, learning technique and being a more technical wrestler. No, you want a long career, limit your bumps. Learn how to bump and stop bumping. And, save it for the matches and don't do anything too crazy. That's the best advice I could give to anybody if they want a nice, long, prolonged career.
And, I would 100% agree with you. Man, it was the fact that when I was finally able to, through all the 7.5 years of trials and tribulations and paying dues, to finally get the break and turn into Stone Cold Steve Austin. It was when I developed that character. The fact that I could go in the ring as well, what was the icing on the cake, but I had a well-rounded character. I could cut a promo. People felt for me. They either loved me or they hated me. And I would say the exact same thing for you. You operated at an extremely high level. Whether you were a babyface or a heel, you were over at the highest level you could be. And then when the bell rang, you could go. So I would say the same thing, man. It's just work on developing that character, learn how to work, learn how to tell a story, and just be able to elicit a response from people so that they care about you in one way, shape, or form, to be able to get into a position where you don't have to kill yourself and you can actually draw money. But when you say, Kurt, you broke your neck 4 different times, and let's go back to 96. Right before the Olympics, you had some issues with your necks. You were taking some painkillers or something to get you through the Olympics to get that gold medal. But when you say you broke your neck 4 different places or 4 different times, like at what levels and how were you breaking your neck? Because, I'm thinking cardiac devastation, paralysis. Yeah. How did this occur?
Well, in 96, I broke my neck 1 extra time. That's not the 4 times in WWE, but I broke my neck back then. It was about 4 months before the Olympics, and I wasn't allowed to take painkillers. I actually had a doctor that was sticking me in the neck with 12 different shots of Novocaine so I couldn't feel my neck. That's what got me through the trials and through the Olympics. But when I broke my neck, I got thrown on my head, and I broke levels 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I had 2 discs that were sticking directly in my spinal cord, so I was risking paralysis, and they couldn't do anything with it. If I would have had the surgery, I wouldn't be able to wrestle in the Olympics. So I was pretty much, the only thing I could do is numb it up and wrestle. And I took that chance, and it worked out to my advantage. So when I got to WWE, first time I broke my neck was against Brock Lesnar. It was the first 2 times. I was on Brock's back, and if you know Brock, he can run pretty fast. And I had him in a chokehold, and he ran from one side of the ring to the other, and he turned his back to the turnbuckle, and when I hit it sideways, and my neck whiplashed sideways, and I heard 3 different cracks in my neck. And literally the next day I couldn't raise my left arm. So I had 3 broken vertebrae, C5, 6, and 7. That occurred. I got back right away, probably within 6 weeks. I wrestled Brock again at SummerSlam. We had a nice program going. I believe that's when I beat him. I made him tap out, and I won the title back. Then in November that same year, Brock hit me over the head with a chair, and it was my own fault because Chris Benoit and I were in a match with Brock, and he grabbed the chair, and Chris told him to swing sideways on him. I didn't tell Brock what to do. I should have told him to swing like a baseball bat, so he wasn't straight down on my head. Well, instead he hit Chris sideways, and then he brought the chair up over his head and just full blow, just everything he had right on top of my head. And I couldn't get my hands up in time to block it, which we try to do, we try to, get our hands in there. And I just took it full force, and I broke 4 vertebrae that time, I believe 3, 4, 5, and 6. So it was just another, pain in the ass surgery. I remember the doctor. Thing is, he said, listen, this is the 2nd surgery in a year. We can't do this again. And unfortunately, 5 months later, I broke my neck against Eddie Guerrero at WrestleMania, and he would not do the surgery. He said, just heal up. So I took a general manager spot on SmackDown for about 5 months. I let the neck heal up, and obviously the discs weren't out of place. It was just the vertebrae were broken. So I didn't really have to have the surgery, and I was able to make it back. And then the 4th time I broke my neck was beginning 2006, right when I won the title on SmackDown. I had a Battle Royal, and I ended up wrestling one of my best matches against Undertaker, No Way Out, 2006. My neck was broken. I had 3 vertebrae broken at the time. And what was crazy is back then, the doctor cleared me. My neck was broken, and he was cool with, with me wrestling in that match. Probably because I broke it so many times, he was just like, what the hell, go ahead. The other times he didn't clear me. Only the fourth time is when the doctor said, go ahead and wrestle, just be careful. And I think he just gave up on me. So, that was the last time I had the surgery. Or I didn't have surgery that time, but that was the last time I broke my neck.
Okay, so what kind of symptoms were you having? Because obviously a broken neck is going to be probably inflicting a lot of pain, especially if something's stepping on a nerve. Or was it more just cracks in the C vertebrae themselves, which in and of itself, to me, it sounds like a very serious injury, but you could still perform to some degree with the crack in the vertebrae. I mean, because when I'm thinking broken neck, I'm thinking you're out of action completely.
Yeah, well, you're right. The thing with broken necks, it sounds a lot worse than it really is. You're absolutely right. If you have a crack in your neck's broken, one of the vertebrae. That doesn't necessarily mean you can't do anything. It just means that, you have maybe a hairline fracture in that vertebrae, and you're going to have a lot of pain.